On our fifth date, Rachel told me something that took the evening down an unexpected path. We were nestled comfortably in her cozy apartment, halfway through a series of binge-worthy episodes, when I leaned in for a kiss. That's when she stopped me, her hand gently pressing against my chest. "There's something you really need to know," she said, the tension in her voice palpable. I braced for impact, expecting a revelation that would perhaps spell the end of our budding relationship. "Okay, shoot," I managed to say, trying to keep my voice steady. "Well," she began, her voice barely above a whisper, "I have what you could call a removable face." There was a pause so profound you could have heard a pin drop in that room. "A what?" The words felt absurd coming out of my mouth. I half expected her to burst into laughter, revealing it all to be a well-constructed joke. But the sober sincerity in her eyes told a different story. "Yes, a removable face. It's hard to explain, and I understand if this is too much, but it's the truth. You won't be able to see any obvious signs, but if you look closely," she said, gently guiding my gaze with her hands to her jawline, "you might notice the seam." My initial urge was to disbelieve. Yet, as I peered closer, there seemed to be an almost imperceptible line that traced the contours of her face, subtle yet undeniable. A whirlwind of questions stirred in my mind, but her next words cut through the confusion. "I know it's a lot to take in, and I wouldn't blame you if you walked away now. This is me, laying all my cards on the table because I care about you. There's a part of my life that's complicated, to say the least." My head was spinning. "Rachel, this doesn't change how I feel about you," I said, finally finding my voice. "I'm still here, aren't I?" She smiled, and it was like the sun breaking through clouds. "Thank you," she whispered. "There's more, though. Every night I need to take it off, to clean, to maintain. It's a process that I can't skip, and during that time you can't see me. Not without my face. It's non-negotiable." I nodded, the reality of the situation starting to sink in. This was uncharted territory, but my feelings for her hadn't wavered. "I understand. Really, I do." Fast forward through time. We continued our journey together, deeply in love. Moving in together, exchanging vows, building a life. Rachel and her removable face became just another part of our extraordinary normal. Days filled with laughter, nights with whispers of dreams and desires. Rachel would retreat for her nightly ritual, a time I learned to use for reflection, never once attempting to intrude upon her privacy. We navigated through life with this unique aspect of our relationship in the background, never letting it define us, but rather enriching our connection with layers of trust and understanding. However, curiosity, that age-old catalyst of chaos, never quite left the fringes of my mind. It was a subject we rarely broached, not for lack of wanting, but from a mutual agreement of respect and boundaries. Rachel always maintained her stance, gentle yet firm, on the sanctity of her privacy during those moments. The world we built together was full of warmth, understanding, and an unspoken agreement of mutual respect. A testament, perhaps, to the idea that love, in its truest form, transcends the need for complete revelation, thriving on the trust and acceptance of each other's deepest truths, seen or unseen. This was our life, a tale not of the superficial, but of souls intertwined, learning and loving, in the shadow of mysteries unexplored but acknowledged. A silent agreement that some things, though unseen, are deeply felt and understood. Time ebbed and flowed, our lives weaving a complex tapestry threaded with the many colors of emotion. As the novelty of Rachel's secret became a familiar part of our daily existence, the shock and awe I initially experienced were replaced by a deep-seated sense of camaraderie and acceptance. Yet, beneath the tranquil surface of our shared life, my curiosity about her true face simmered, unquenched and forbidden. It happened on a night unlike any other, during a particularly fierce thunderstorm. The power had flickered out, and the world was illuminated by erratic bursts of lightning, casting monstrous shadows that danced across the walls of our home. Rachel, adhering to her nightly ritual, had disappeared into the bathroom, The click of the lock a soft yet profound punctuation to the eerie silence that enveloped the space. As I sat huddled with a book, trying to ignore the rising tempest both outside and within my mind, a peculiar unease began to take root. I told myself it was just the storm, nothing more, yet couldn't help but feel a stirring of dread, an instinctual response to something primal and unnerving. It was then I heard it, a soft, muffled sound, like a whimper, nearly drowned out by the drumming of the rain against the window panes. My heart skipped a beat. It was Rachel's voice, but laced with a timbre of fear I had never known her to express. The power surged back to life, and with it, a scream, piercing, brutal, and abruptly silent. Panic surged through my veins as I leaped to my feet and dashed towards the bathroom. The door, which she always locked, stood ajar, revealing a sliver of the horror within. Huddled in the corner, Rachel's silhouette was visible in the erratic lighting. She was shaking violently, her head bowed in a gesture of defeat and terror. A sickening realization dawned on me that her face, the one I was never meant to see, must be uncovered. As my eyes adjusted to the flashlit scene, I beheld what my mind could scarcely process. Rachel's head was tilted upwards now, and where her face should have been, there was only an abyss, a writhing mass of darkness that seemed to absorb the very light around it. From within that void, I could see the glint of something alive, an unnatural shifting of shadow and form that was too monstrous to belong to any world known to man. I stumbled back, a gasp escaping my lips, as the room suddenly chilled. Rachel, or whatever now stood in her place, whispered a litany of unfamiliar, guttural sounds, as though speaking a language forgotten by time itself. I turned to flee, every instinct screaming within me to escape the terror that had masqueraded as my wife. But then, her voice, the one I knew, called out desperately, "Please, don't look. Leave before it's too late." But it was already too late. The entity, the faceless horror that had lived with me, had seen the depths of my soul. The thing without a face knew the weight of my curiosity, and with my forbidden glance, an ancient covenant had been broken. In the ensuing days, my mind fractured under the weight of what I had witnessed. Nightmares plagued me, horrors conjured from a place beyond the veil of rationality. I became a shadow of my former self, haunted by the visage of the woman I had loved and the unspeakable truth that had been hidden beneath. The scars run deeper than the skin, into realms where terror is woven into the fabric of existence. I am now prisoner to the knowledge that our world is a mere facade, and behind the faces we trust and love, there may lurk secrets and abominations beyond comprehension. My story with Rachel ends in the echoes of a love that once was and a quiet warning that some truths are best left unseen, for they hold the power to unravel the very sanity we hold dear. As days melded into nights, my life spiraled into a chasm of paranoia and fear. The memory of that fathomless void where Rachel's face should have been haunted every waking moment. The once tender whispers of love were now twisted into ethereal wails, resonating from walls that seemed to close in around me. The police visited after a few days, asking after Rachel's sudden disappearance. My answers were disjoint and fragmented. I spoke of her self-imposed isolation, her nightly ritual, my chest tightening with each recollection. The officers exchanged wary glances, dismissing my delirious ramblings about a faceless entity as shock and grief. After they left, the house felt oppressively empty, yet I could feel an unseen presence. It was watching, waiting, feeding off my dread. As I lay in bed that night, the moon aslit in the clouded sky, the dead silence was shattered by the sound of the bathroom door creaking open. My heart thundered painfully against my ribs. The faint shuffle of footsteps approached, and I could see a figure outlined against the meager moonlight. There was Rachel, her face, or what should have been her face, shrouded in shadow. But as she stepped into the shaft of light, I saw it clearly now, in all its grotesque glory. No eyes, no nose, no lips, just a smooth, undulating surface of flesh, with figures and faces pushing outwards from within, as if trapped souls were attempting to escape from the other side. I couldn't move, terror paralyzing me as the thing that wore my beloved skin reached out with her familiar, delicate hands. Her voice, a hissing echo of what once was, twisted the air. "You wanted to see," it hissed. "Now look upon the truth you sought." The room filled with the cries of the damned, a cacophony of pain and sorrow that bore into my very being. Her hands clasped my face, cold and unyielding, and my eyes were forced upon the abomination that stood before me. I could feel my sanity peeling away as I gazed into the unholy tableau etched into her flesh. Then, with the malevolence of a creature born from nightmares, she started to unfasten the remnants of what made her look human, revealing the chasm beneath. A screaming maw of darkness, it enveloped everything: love, sanity, reality. As she pressed her non-face against mine, the faces within the flesh wailed in a torment that mirrored my own. In my final moments, as the abyss consumed me, the last vestiges of my reason crumbled. From the void came a new visage, twisted and cruel, cobbled together from the fragments of my shattered mind. My last breath was a silent plea, a whisper lost amidst the terror of an endless night. Love had been a mask, a beautiful lie that had concealed an ancient horror. With the breaking dawn, the world would find an empty house, save for the facades of normalcy and two voids where once hearts beat in blissful ignorance. In the echoes of what once was laughter and hope, a chilling silence settled. The shapeless terror that had donned Rachel's guise was gone, slipping back into the hidden folds of reality, waiting to be invited into another unsuspecting life. I, once a man driven by curiosity and love, became nothing but a memory. A cautionary tale whispered in hushed tones, a stark reminder that some doors, once opened, usher forth into horrors beyond the grasp of the living, leading only to a perpetual darkness that hungers eternally for the curious and the brave.